I pressed the button. Although I think I'm slightly blurry. Am I slightly blurry, Stuart? I feel like I'm slightly.
No,
Like you look.
looks good
You look great there, Stuart. But I feel like I'm.
as usual.
Yeah.
Yes.
So we're now live in front of our entire wonderful audience.
We are live, and today we're going to be doing something that we promised we would do, even though we don't have the time for it today.
Yeah,
That's
it's
fine.
been hectic, busy for us both. We filmed what for 2 hours, 2ish hours today, and then
Yeah.
you had real life, and then I was doing just released a thing which you guys can check out if you want, but I'm not gonna. It's not about what is here today, and then now we are here as well to talk to all of you and talking about
That's
Voyager.
right. Voyager. Yeah, season 2, episode 15, Threshold.
Season 2, Threshold. Now, why are we talking about Threshold, Stuart?
That's all special
Voyager.
thanks to the anti-trekker, who I found out yesterday is a cheap bastard and never has put in a $10 super chat ever before. But he did a $10 super chat just to torture us so that we can look at Threshold. He's currently live right now, and he's going to watch this later, so he can't even participate. So, haha! Victory is ours.
I'm just going to post this on the Facebook, Stuart, so you can vamp to our wonderful people.
Yes, sir. So thank you guys for tuning in. As always, we're looking forward to your comments and questions. Like, we want to keep it focused on the episode, but of course, if you guys have anything that you really want to talk about, you can send us a super chat and we will address that, answer the question, talk about what you want to talk about, and then get back on track. We'll try to follow along in the regular window as well. But we just, we want to talk to you guys about this episode. As with this one, we made all of our notes like we do for the Discovery episodes because we get sick of being labeled, either lovers or haters of Discovery. We just call it like we see it, right down the middle. And all Star Trek has its good and its bad. So we're here to kind of show you guys how we look at things and how we are going to be hopefully doing every series. I want to do every episode eventually. I think that'd be fun.
It would be. Fun's the right word.
But
because we know that obviously we looked at the TOS episode and that was really, really fun. But it was obviously a good episode. And if you're going to look at good Trek, I mean, even the good episode of Discovery. The good episode of Discovery, you can,
the good episode.
You're going to say good things about. And so this episode, we gave it to our audience in the last live chat, which was the Discovery episode. A chance to pick what series and what show. And just like fish in a barrel, they walked into the trap of picking us the best episode of Voyager ever. I think we will both find out by the end of this discussion that it is probably one of the best episodes of Voyager, and you could even say of Star Trek. There should be no parallel.
Right.
If there's a parallel, we don't even know. One of the best.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we're gonna let some people build up here, and let's get this. Well, we should probably get it started soon, I guess. We are a little bit late starting, but that was because we were busy and technical issues, so we apologize for that.
Yeah, less graphics today, guys. Sorry, but it's like I said, busy day. We want to do something. We want to do something today, and this was our way of doing something, and involve watching an episode of Star Trek. I guess I'll put a generic picture on something that sort of represent. I'll just put on the title. There we go. Yeah, this is an episode. I mean, I don't. I've told you before. I don't actually just go out and watch Star Trek, if that makes sense. I know the episodes for the most part. I've watched them in my youth. Obviously, we're both busy, and you just watch them because they're on your network channels, sort of thing. So I haven't actually gone back and watched any of these episodes for a long time specifically to watch them, and so this was an interesting experience to go back and watch it, but also get the fine tooth comb that we would expect. And as you guys might know, we've done a lot of content on the Voyager, 3D models and stuff. So I know these ships a little bit better than the average person. So I'm able to present a slightly different perspective as well. And that was fun to be like, oh, I know that model. Oh, I know that effect. Especially when it's later Voyager, and everything's foundation imaging. It's going to be like, oh, I know the problems with that polygon. Oh, I know how that ship hasn't got another side. That other side's blank. And so you'll probably learn some fun things along the way. Yeah.
But Joe Wright said, "I'm so devoted. I actually watched Threshold last night."
Nice one.
I've heard a few people are going to watch it before they watch this, so that's good. I love that you're following along.
I mean, you really should enjoy it with us.
Yes.
No better way than to just watch it, force yourself into watching.
And like we say at the beginning, guys, super chats are super welcome. You don't have to, of course, if you can't. But I know, right? But if you can, it really helps us out, helps the channel, and makes doing these lives really
worthwhile and fun.
Worthwhile, yeah, because they're gonna be fun regardless. And interacting with you guys is always awesome. But we will try to hit some comments and stuff in the regular chat, but it does fly by pretty quick sometimes, especially with the back and forth. And we sometimes get lost in the conversation, so we just skip over stuff. But the super chat window is a separate window. If you don't know how the super chat works, it's a lot easier to see those. So that's one of the reasons that they're more prominent. So regardless,
that was a perfect explanation. So let's go back then to Star Trek Voyager. Burping season. Season 2, episode 15. Released 29th of January, 1996. Did you watch it live? Let's start at the beginning. Because I didn't watch it live. I was 3. No, I wasn't. I was 2. I was two and a half.
I probably did see this one live. Yeah, I can't remember. But we got a super chat from Matthias Bergen. 20 Norwegian dollars. I don't know what those are. Review the damn Norway class already. Well, Samuel, you want to explain why we haven't done the Norway class?
I mean, we spoil you guys with reviews and episodes and things, but we have a certain quality we want to achieve, and part of that is having 3D models of said ships, and we just don't have one on the Norway to do it justice. We hope to get one eventually, but we feel like it would be at this point it'd be sad to just do just using the 2 screen caps from the episode, because there's a reason why it's not the one we have, because it wasn't used in DS9, it wasn't used in Voyager, it was abandoned because the head of VFX for Voyager and DS9 didn't like the ship, so there is no, so it's only gotten those few shots and fan models which aren't really good enough per se, so, but thank you for the super chat, and we're always trying, we're obviously going to do everything eventually, everything. So 1996, you don't remember what you first thought, do you remember anything about any initial impression, like what did you think before you watched this episode, about the episode today, what was your sort of before thought?
I remember liking the first half of it because I thought the transwarp threshold and stuff was really interesting. But I realized after watching it this time, it's probably the first 15 minutes I like, not really the first half. But I remember liking it more before watching it this time. I've seen it a few times, of course, but yeah.
I have 2 pages of notes about it.
Me too.
Discovery was 2.5. So yeah, I just remember originally thinking it was a great concept. This is the only memory I have before. Great concept, weird ending, but like Voyager doing its Voyagery thing just didn't quite come together. That's what I remember thinking originally. But now we're looking at it a little bit different way. So it starts off with a if this is gonna, there we go. So it starts off with a Mr. Paris in the shuttle. Trying to do transwarpy warp things, and for some reason it's not loading the intro to the video. That's always helpful. Well, you guys know what it was because you watched it with us.
Yes. This was an interesting start to the video. I do love the opening scene. The way that it's very much like a test pilot doing his thing, and then all of a sudden the simulation ends. So it's in the holodeck. You didn't know that obviously the first time watching it because you thought they maybe were trying it for real, but it was cool. I love when they use the holodeck as a simulator. It's perfect use for a holodeck, and I just thought it was really cool. So,
although one of the things I felt throughout this is that how the hell can this computer correctly do simulations about a thing that's never been done before, that's never been attempted, that's theoretically impossible? Like every time they say, the simulations say it's going to work, I'm like, no, they don't. If the computer can work out simulations correctly, you would have cracked it decades ago. You know what I mean? At some point, it becomes a crapshoot of possibility, and so I was like, stop saying that, guys. The computer does not agree with you. I just thought it was a bit funny because if it could, it could. And this is. I mean, you can see in the live stream now the first view, or the view we see a lot in this episode is him in the shuttle. That view, that one exact angle, is in the episode like 11 times, and it's like, could they not move the camera for different people to make it feel different? Do they really have to bring the same different actors in for the same setup? I know it saved a lot of time, but it's like it's the exact same shot all throughout. It's like dull, dull. Yep, we learned that the shuttle can go to warp 9.7 safely if they use this transwarp system. I thought that was pretty interesting. It's like shuttles can go fast, but if they do use this transwarp power and not just go to warp 10, 9.7 is really good for a shuttle. So everyone should be using this.
9.7 is great for ships. Voyager is Voyager is the fastest ship, and it could hit like 9.99.
No, 9.975. Yeah, Prometheus is 9.9. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But they did keep up to the shuttle later.
Only 9.97 or 8, which was I've got later on about because I'm annoyed by that scene.
Starts to shake a little bit, and they have to cut it back to 9.95 to keep up.
When we get there. I just thought it was really interesting. Like, this might have been a failure, but that's a really cool bit of technology if they can increase that. Because imagine Delta Flyer being able to go warp 9.7. That's awesome. Use it. Just don't go to. Just don't go to, warp 10 ever in the universe. I thought when they disappeared, I thought, God love that holodeck design. Just the art design of that holodeck. I saw it was like that is just such a good bit of.
Yeah, they're telling us in the chat that it's warp 9.975 is Voyager's maximum. Yeah, okay, that sounds right.
I've got a problem within the episode, but again, we'll get to that. Again, we're reviewing any other episode. But this intro, while good, I thought where it was edited and scripted and paced, it didn't have the punch that they thought it would have. Like you meant to feel, oh my god, it's a simulation, but it just kind of comes off as, It doesn't have a real punch to it.
Yeah, I can see that.
Because I think they were expecting something really cool, but they didn't put enough money into the visual effects or the shaky camera. That just didn't quite. So it didn't quite work for me. Although I probably said that's probably a decent summary of the entire episode.
Yeah. Well, the next scene is in mess hall, and I always found it interesting with Voyager. They should always be traveling. They should always be,
At warp. Yep.
At warp, and yet in mess hall, almost never do you see the stars anything but still. Not even at impulse. That's always bugged me, and I don't know why that is. I mean, it wouldn't be that difficult, I don't think, to put that effect up. I'm just saying.
Well, yeah, the difference I think is that it have to be a green screen versus because they used a practical sheet with sequins and holes and stuff in, so it was just a case of do we do a green screen it or not. It's just a budget thing, and you had all the tracking. But yeah, it's like why are they? I mean, I guess they're doing shuttle tests in this episode. You could argue they've stayed still because they're doing shuttle tests, but the shuttle tests involve warp. I don't know. Yeah, it's just it's a lack of energy, isn't it?
Yeah, if I was Janeway, I'd be at warp every chance I got. They seem to be
dilly-dallying,
hanging around a lot, a lot of the time. So now this is where we find out that once you hit warp 10, you're basically at every point in the galaxy all at the same time. Yep. You basically are everywhere. This is an interesting theory, and a lot of people kind of jump on the wagon that, well, in TOS they went to warp 18 and when they were going to the Andromeda Galaxy or whatever. So I guess that's a different warp scale. But the way it's explained here is that because you're going so fast, you can be absolutely anywhere in an instant.
Well,
I don't.
You're ever at the same time as well.
Yeah, so I don't understand why later. Well, we'll get into that when I guess we get there. But they end up on a planet ahead of the ship. They could be literally anywhere.
That was damn lucky they didn't end up in the Gamma Quadrant around a pulsar.
Or where they started back by the caretaker array. Damn it, we gotta go all the way back.
We gotta go back 2 years. Is it really worth it for Tom and... Oh, well, I guess Janeway, yeah. Yeah, there's a weird... It's a strangely paced piece. It's strongly paced until you suddenly get like a... Ooh, that doesn't quite pace.
Yeah.
But this scene is the most expositional scene it possibly could be. It's literally just... Hey audience, let's talk about this episode and what the plot of this episode is. Super, literal and whatever. And while most of the time you quite lazy writing, It's
Mhm.
just that it's very basic, because this is a decent way of doing it. Neelix comes in, has some good line, has some good bits of chemistry. You like blonde, the interaction's decent, but then it's all just about the tech talk. It's
Mhm.
not quite personal enough to make it work. It does just feel like an information dump. But then
Oh,
again, it's good that it's over
yeah.
and done quickly, which means we can move
There's
on.
there's so much technobabble in this scene at the table, which is funny because it ends with Neelix saying, "I didn't understand any of that," which was hilarious because that's what the audience is thinking.
Well, I
Baz
got it, but I mean,
Baz T sent £5, so thank
thank
you.
you.
I will watch tomorrow. Sorry for the late turn up. Don't worry.
No, that's fine.
Just watch whenever you can. Much appreciated. Um, but yes, interesting opening scene, and the technobabble is interesting. There seems to be a lot of technobabble in Voyager,
Yes.
more so than the other series.
Mm-hmm.
And most of the time, I don't have a problem with it. Sometimes it's a little bit much. This one is full of not only technobabble, but medical babble as well. So half the script is basically, yeah,
Well,
techno or medical babble.
Well, it's an episode completely revolving around a single science concept, a one that you need to. There's layers of, especially as it changes. Although Dan23 just said in Voyager season 2 episode Resolutions, Tom Paris says Type 9 shuttlecraft have a top speed of warp 4.
Yes.
Well, that's very impressive then, Tom. You did a good job with the whole team. You
They
should.
must have strapped an extra pair of nacelles on it that we didn't see or something. I don't know.
Yeah. Ugh.
There's a lot of contradictions like that all over Star Trek.
Yes.
And it is worth pointing those out when we can. So thank you very much, Dan, for that.
And I kept thinking about this scene. Do they actually like Neelix or not? Because I mean, the audience is one thing, but the people. I mean, this is his galley. They obviously know they're going to see him. They're stressed, but they're a bit disrespectful to him, and he is just trying to help, and he's offering them food and drink and stuff. It's a little bit like, come on, guys, but I guess they are stressed. It's like, guys, be a little bit nicer to him. He's just being a nice guy in this scene, and not kind of an annoying way, just being a nice guy.
Yeah, and I actually don't mind Neelix personally.
I don't
think
either,
he's
really.
somebody I'd like to know. So
New form of dilithium, that changes everything. I mean, that has huge ramifications, since dilithium is how they power the ship. I mean, it's part of the reaction. I mean, why couldn't they go into... Because the dilithium itself is not causing the warp 10 nonsense to happen with them. The dilithium itself could be used for everything. Just don't use it in warp drive for warp 10. I mean, that should be... that again, it's a continuity thing. That in any other show, that'd be a huge deal to find new powerful dilithium. Oh, we're not going to mention it again. Oh, okay.
Well, yeah, that's one of the problems with Voyager. What happens one week doesn't translate to the next.
Yep.
One thing that I found interesting is the I just lost the thought.
I'm sorry.
Well, they were talking about the nacelles being ripped from the ship, and then we're thinking about this the wrong way. It's actually the ship being ripped from the nacelles. I don't know. I just thought it was interesting. There's another point I wanted to make, but I lost it. Damn it! I hate when that happens.
Yeah, it was a fair enough. I like the fact that you could say they're both running at different speeds. Like it sounds silly, but when they point out it's because they're running at different speeds. Like, oh, that's interesting. But again, I just don't see the simulations be able to replicate that. Like when they get to warp 10 in the next thing, it's like, yes, our simulations say we can reach warp 10, and what does that mean? Well, it doesn't calculate that they become eel creatures. So obviously, then the calculations weren't correct.
Yeah.
How they...
Looks like they're talking in the chat about why didn't they go to the wormhole in the Gamma Quadrant. Well, if you actually look at the star charts, the star chart book, it's about 60,000 light years, as Azareth 2 said, to the Gamma Quadrant. So it's about 6 years, or it's 60 years as opposed to 70 years. So it's a little bit closer. But they didn't know about the Gamma. Well, they did. They know about the Gamma Quadrant wormhole because they stopped at Deep Space Nine before they left it for their mission. But yeah, I wondered that as well. So when I first got the star charts, I actually looked at the distance. It's about the same. So it's kind of a gamble to do that and maybe have it happen, or just head straight home.
It's like saying, we're hoping in 6 years' time that's still open and exists. If that thing isn't open and exists, it's another 50 years home. I mean, it's like, do you take a gamble or not? And as we know, the wormhole does go away for a little bit of time and other such things. So it's not a foregone conclusion. Wouldn't that have been awkward if DS9 went to like season 12 and by season 9 they realised, oh crap, we can't get Voyager home because we killed the wormhole in the previous season. Oops. So this confused me / it feels inconsistent. They swapped transwarp barrier and warp 10 barrier throughout the entire piece. They interchange those words,
Yes.
but they mean different things. What are your
That
thoughts?
was my point. That was my point that I forgot. Thank
Beautiful.
you. I hate the fact that anything past warp 10 or any fast
Faster
thing
than
they
warp.
try is transwarp.
Yes.
Eventually we get slipstream or quantum slipstream.
Yep.
Those are mentioned, but it's always transwarp. Transwarp is used so broadly, and it's usually displayed. It's usually shown visually different for each person that uses it, or each species that uses it. The Borg, the Voth, I believe, used it, and it's a little bit different visually.
That's very fast.
Yeah, and they use like corridors or different technology to enhance it and stabilize it. So it's always interesting because we did a Trekyards fact files on the transwarp system of the Excelsior, and we had to make that caveat at the beginning of it saying transwarp is widely used or at least referenced in various forms. So there's different versions of it.
Yeah.
But the one we're talking about today is specifically the Excelsior. So I hate that term, transwarp. I just hate it.
Because transwarp speed, if transwarp speed is post warp 10, then every other transwarp should be following that same logic, but obviously isn't. Stick with warp 10, the concept of infinite speed. Using transwarp is such a broken idea because when they say breaking the transwarp barrier, it's like, well, I wrote specifically when they say later on you're the first person to break the transwarp barrier. It's like, okay, well in 3 seasons you're all going to break the transwarp barrier, be the first Federation crew to do it because they do it easily with the Borg. Transwarp barrier, you know what I mean? That was. Yeah. I think they didn't realise which one they wanted to go for, and they just used it interchangeably. Like Slipstream, at least, has always been the other, the unique, super not used.
Yeah.
But that was a letdown for me because it doesn't work. It's inconsistent, and it feels inconsistent throughout.
Well, yeah, Taz G2000 just said trans is a general prefix meaning beyond, which is true.
Yeah, still.
Like transgender is beyond gender.
But they already had the term warp 10. You don't need both.
I know.
But I don't think we'd seen. Oh, we had seen transwarp actually because when the Borg were in the TNG episode with the Borg, they did go through a transwarp conduit, the Law one. So actually, there you go. The first Federation crew was the TNG crew that went through a transwarp conduit with Law and his guys.
Yeah, Lore Reloaded. What?
Nope.
Nope, not that lore. Oh, okay. I think in one episode in TNG they also mentioned that they went warp 13 as well.
Yes. Yes.
Which is another one of those technical inconsistencies or just writing fails.
Well,
but
it's the impressive look. We did warp 10 sort of thing. And I will say I'm having lots of problems with my editing software here. It's crashing every time I try and load this episode, so it's not letting me scroll anymore. It's being quite irritating. So I do apologise.
Well, that's all right. You work on that. We'll keep talking.
Yeah. So next scene after this long exhibition scene is the briefing.
Oh.
Whole crew. And Chakotay gets his sometimes episodically 3 lines of agreement and non-agreement and yes sir dialogue. He's always underserved. It's such a shame.
Really? Do you think so? I don't have a problem with the way Chakotay is usually portrayed. And there are specific Chakotay episodes. I hear that complaint a lot, and I don't personally see it. But in
this episode, he could have been Tuvok. He could have been Kim. Not so much Kim, but he could have been Tuvok or anyone else in the main crew. His lines were not characterful, were not himself. They were just command lines. And he doesn't add anything marquee to them. I mean, that's, again, characters is the weakest part of Voyager. In terms of not they're more likable than a lot of other shows, but they're not developed. Like he was just. Because I did feel this episode was an interesting one when it comes to characters because it was very much the Tom Paris episode, and not in a bad way. This was really like we're going to give you a lot of lines. You're in every single scene. This is for you. And then you have B'Elanna and Harry at the start, which imply they're going to be in it throughout. But their role diminishes very. It's like off a cliff. They're basically in it very little. And then you see Captain Janeway suddenly have this weird amount she's in it, and constantly having scenes just with Paris. And that's obviously directly foreshadowing, she's now important because she becomes important at the end. So that's like, we're going to, utilize her more to make her more in the story. And then Tuvok gets literally one scene and one bit of dialogue, and Chakotay the same thing. And the Doctor gets a great part in this episode, actually. And this is early Doctor, so still don't know how to use him properly.
But if you didn't know it was early Doctor, you wouldn't be able to tell. Because I think the way he was written was very
it was closer to later Doctor. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
It was
Kind of
more,
the humor and stuff.
just more
I
of a
love.
deadpan dick, though.
Yeah, there's a funny thing he does later that I will pull up when we get there.
No,
But first
he
of all,
was.
we have
Oh,
£5 from Ian Warrender.
thank you.
Finally watching alive. Warp 13 was the AGT future. I assume they rearranged the warp scale again instead of warp 9.9999999.
Yep.
What is AGT?
All good things.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the classic one. But yeah, absolutely, that was a. Yeah, absolutely. Now I think I said something else about this scene as well.
I just put.
Oh.
It would be Paris joining an elite group of pilots, breaking barriers and stuff, which is right up his alley for what his character, So.
Oh, this was definitely a him episode. Like they tailored it to his character. I was quite amazed by. They said a 1 month turnaround. They found either they found the dilithium a month ago, or they started the project a month ago, or they pitched to a month ago. Are these guys that smart to be able to go from 0 to testable and succeeding warp 10 travel that no one in the universe ever did, sort of, in this form? Because I guess it makes you mutants in a month. That's a really it's a very quick turnaround feel, and the whole episode does also feel like a quick turnaround. Like it's the problem of this isn't very difficult once they're in it. You don't get a sense of the build, the challenge.
Yeah. Then, are we ready to move on to the next scene, do you think?
Yep.
All right. So the next scene is, of course, Tom in his PJs, hanging out in his quarters. And Janeway comes in and basically says that because of enzymatic imbalance in his cerebellum, there's a 2% chance of a brain hemorrhage when he breaks the barrier. So... Interestingly, they want to put Kim in charge of the flight, and of course that would take away all of Tom Paris's glory. Should Kim be the one piloting? And I can see why he would be like, I can do this, because it's only a 2% chance of a brain hemorrhage. Seems a little strange. I don't know if actually Janeway was testing him at this point, or if this was a legit concern that the doctor had, because it almost seems like she wanted to see how serious he was about it, as opposed to actually presenting this as a valid, a valid argument. I don't know.
I mean, I think in the UK it's like there's a 3% chance of a side effect is the legal okay amount still release a drug. So 2% is nothing. But I mean, again, it seems so strange that they're so blasé about this, that it's safe to travel, and they say infinite speed, a quick infinite speed journey. Because he says, I'll drop out of warp and I'll come back to see Voyager. What is that? A quick infinite speed journey? I mean, what? the terminology doesn't quite fit this episode. And I like how this imbalance doesn't actually affect the plot, because they specifically say that's not why he changed. So it's just to get them to have a scene together, because you need to reinforce. To be fair, this scene probably should have been cut and given more time for the end, because the end's like that. This scene probably was the least needed, but it's Paris being Paris still. Obviously, the latter half, he's not himself, so the acting's good, but it's not him, so it's sort of not characterful. This is a big character scene. He talks about his past, he talks about his father, like really characterful stuff.
Well, that's later though.
Okay.
This scene set up him, wanting to be one of those pilots that would be mentioned in the history books as being the first to do something like with the test pilot. So that's establishes that part of his character. Jill Wright sent $2. Car repairs broke today. Well, no problem. We understand that. Life happens. We're trying to address some of the other comments as well. But appreciate anything you guys can offer up. That's awesome. Thank you for tuning in, by the way.
Yeah. It's a whole different experience. It's classic Trek. That's why I said one thing I said
Captain
to Stuart. Oh, sorry.
Oh, Captain Foley, why must I choose between watching Anti-Trekker or my favorite Joker? Because Anti-Trekker is being stubborn and says he always streams this time of day. When he knew this was happening, he picked Threshold. I assumed he would be here, but apparently his audience is more important than watching us struggle through this. So that's fine. I get it. I'm sad I'm missing an Anti-Trekker live, because I do watch a lot of them. So, but anyway, here I am. Thanks, Anti-Tracker.
Yes. Now this scene, I'll mention it now as I'm scrolling through. You guys can see this episode. And I'll get to a decent picture. This episode is incredibly blandly shot.
Mm.
It's ultra basic. I mean, this episode is cheap. In terms of, there's only one new piece of anything, and that's the makeup, which is excellent, but that's Michael Westmore, he's always good. There's very few visual effects, there's basically 3 new ones, everything else is a reuse, including multiple times in the same episode. It's one of the cheapest episodes probably of this season. It's a bottle show, actually less characters per scene than an average episode, so you can have them doing other things. And it does feel it, because the cinematography is so bland. It's always a 2-shot, a close-up, a close-up, a close-up, and there's no interesting camera work this entire episode.
I knew it had a different feel, and that's why. I never really considered that, though. But you're right, now that I'm thinking back on it, since you described that. But you're more of a cinematographer. You're used to setting up shots and things like that.
It's really basic.
Yeah, plus the limited locales. You got, the briefing room, the quarters, the bridge, and sickbay. I
mean, this shot here is a decent shot, but again, it's not interesting. I mean, it's just a shot. And the bridge is always a great set, but it's just like... It's so bland. I mean, Voyager obviously. I mean, look at the shot with Janeway. All the walls are grey, so the colour of the uniform is the only thing that helps them pop. That's why I do interesting angles, interesting lighting. But it's just plain. That's obviously where Discovery and such kicks ass, because they have a colour palette. They have more advanced filming techniques, videographers, and obviously they had 13 episodes to make, or 15. This had 22, so the amount of time per episode in the year is a lot less. Obviously, you have to make certain cut corners, but it should be about the story, not so about the shots. But it's a very, very bland episode. It's not bad, but it's just nothing good specifically in this episode. Well, there's some decent VFX for the time, which I'll get into in a minute.
The next scene starts with the launch of the shuttle, and I hate this first line that Janeway says. Open the space doors. The fuck is a space door? What the hell is a space door?
Edit.
Edit that out.
Look, a different shot of Paris from a different angle. That's nice. Yeah.
I just hate that term. Like, open the shuttle bay doors makes more sense. I hate space doors. That's like going back to 1960s with United Spaceship. No, it's United Starship. That sounds better for USS than spaceship. You know what I mean? So, anyway.
But this is a cool shot, though, of it leaving the shuttle bay. And just so you guys know, they're using if you look at the ship, it's got purpley textures, because this is using the old, they textured it originally, and they had to fix that after the fact when Rob Bonchoon changed them, I think in season 4. So this is the wrongly coloured Voyager model, and before Foundation Imaging came along. But it's a good shot, though. I mean, you see both jump to warp. That's awesome. You never get to see that sort of thing.
Is it scaled correctly? Because we know there's an issue with the shuttle bay and scaling.
Yeah, close enough. I mean, those shuttles. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it's just a nice shot, though. I mean, in terms of what they can do, most of the stuff's model shots, but that's actually a real shot.
And I like their nice little nod here with using shuttle Cochrane.
Yes.
They're using the Cochrane shuttle, so that's cool.
So then, instantly, pretty much, they get to warp 10. Doesn't take very long.
And then they lose contact with Tom, and he disappears. And this is one of those Chakotay lines, I guess, that just doesn't really work. Chakotay has to tell Kim to increase sensor gain to the maximum. Like Harry hadn't already done that. Don't you think that would be the first job as Harry Kim was to extend the range?
It makes you wonder, though. These people on the bridge, are they waiting to do every single command until they're told, or is their job to do the job properly?
That they're trained to do, and that
because like in a battle, have you had over the torpedo button saying, "Order it"?
That's what the order "fire at will" means. That means you can push it as many times as you'd like. Otherwise, you got to hold off.
Yeah.
So,
this is a strange episode to get behind, in a sense, because the idea of a warp 10 infinite speed is a really big concept. And I think this almost could have been a 2-parter, or this could have been one of the best of this season, because that once you hit that sort of Star Trek mile, goal, that's once you've hit it, you've done. The warp 10 story was then done poorly. So he goes to warp then 10, and then he's still in contact range, even though he's now in infinite space for about 3 seconds. and then it should have been instantly gone, because it doesn't make sense for there to be any delay, because he's now everywhere.
Yeah.
It was a... They didn't commit to the concept. It should have been gone. So he's gone, like, instantly. Like, within half a whatever. And I did like that... Oh, that's later on, isn't it, with the rumble. But, yeah, I didn't buy that. It's not how that Warp 10 works, just even though, no, they didn't think how it works either properly.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was too easy. Why the delay? Yeah.
And anyway, then the ship returns to Voyager, because of course it did. It could be anywhere in the universe.
Wait, he does explain why, though, to be fair.
He does.
Although, look at the crummy warp effect. And it doesn't even come from the location of the warp flare. That's such a bad effect. Then the thing comes out, shuttle's unharmed, and he's fine. Just unconscious.
Yay!
And then a wonderful grumpy doctor scene.
I love, yeah.
He is very good in this episode.
Yeah, and Janeway's like, can we wake him? I don't see why not. Wake up! I love that.
Brilliant. Like he's the only one beyond Paris that gets character dialogue. Every other character is reacting to the story. Now, Janeway talks to him about the story, talks to him about his reason to be in the story, but only Paris and the Doctor get fun dialogue, and that was a shame, because again, it doesn't. But it makes his dialogue seem even more cool, because every line is pretty much brilliant. I forgot how grumpy he was. Yeah.
This is where Paris explains that he was basically everywhere at once. He was in this room, he was on the bridge, he was in the shuttle, he could see himself. He basically became omnipotent, I guess, for a second or two. And he made the history books by being the first person to break the Warp 10 barrier. So you can die from that moment on. You can die knowing you've achieved something. So,
and he may just die in a scene or two later.
What? Oh my god! I didn't get that far into the episode. What are you talking about? Yeah. So the next scene, they are out of sick bay, and him and B'Elanna are sitting in the mess hall, and he gets a specialty coffee named after him for his achievements from Neelix.
Yes.
And apparently it tastes awful, but it probably doesn't, because his taste buds are changing, and all of a sudden he feels sick and keels over.
And it's so nice that he's trying again. Neelix is just a good guy in this episode, just trying to be supportive and part of the crew, and this is his one job here, to make food and say hi to people, and people don't like him in this episode. Now, again, this...
Joined by my Neelix.
I mean, would you agree that everyone acted kind of flat in this episode except Paris and the Doctor?
Yes.
Like Janeway, she's like, there's no worry really. There's no, Paris, you did it! Oh my god! It's like, so, well done, Lieutenant. You didn't die from being everywhere in the universe. Wow. Like, everyone's so flat in this episode. There's very little direction going on. It's like, I think they could tell it was a filler episode. Cheap filler bottle show, and so it was just do. But the concept is such a high Trek concept that it should have been one of the specials of the season. It's the counter is so strange.
I agree. Like, that's why I like the first part of this episode, like the transwarp barrier. Yeah, the transwarp barrier, and even the beginning of the mutation is interesting, and then this is where it falls apart for me. But yeah, the first part I think was pretty well. It could have been so much more, as you said.
Yeah.
And I remember really, not this last time watching it, but the time before, which was a couple months ago, I probably saw this on TV, and I was like, "Oh, this is really good," and it's like, "Oh, this isn't so great." But I just remember enjoying the first little bit very much.
We're 17 minutes in at this coffee bit, and up until now, it's been pretty decent. It's a really nice. This episode has a really good slow build. It told
it's like a good pot of coffee, nice slow brew,
and then suddenly it gets sour because the taste buds change. Exactly. But no,
they overheat it and burn it. There you go.
But it genuinely has a good build to it, and you want to know more. And the Paris transformation is really good. I think well done. It's just the ending's really abrupt and the start's quite abrupt. But it's like, again, it's missed opportunity to show it. It should have had a second or third draft, really refine it, take all the dialogue you don't need down and put in scenes that are really like cool and impactful. So what did you think about the actual? Go back a second to the the big reveal, the being ever at the same time. He was everywhere at the same time. He managed to see their concern. Transwarp tend was right in front of them. He's unconscious, comes back in, he's fine, and he remembers it, but it's leaving his brain. I mean, what about being ever at the same time as a warp 10 factor? Because now we know that's what happens.
I find it hard to wrap my head around, and my brain immediately goes, usually in the gutter. So things that I would be remembering, but I thought it was interesting, and if that's how breaking the warp 10 barrier would be, it would be impractical almost to do so, because I think it'd be overwhelming to too many people.
And people make comparisons, though. The Spore Drive from Star Trek Discovery using the Mycelium network is an instant any place to any place in the universe, and also it can do multiple dimensions. This is a theoretical any place, and if he said he saw everything, I see no reason why he couldn't go to alternate universes or times if he saw everything everywhere. He's everywhere. Yeah. Why wouldn't he be everywhere? Multiple universes.
Didn't Stammet say the same thing? I could see everything. I know everything.
Yeah.
Kind of
yeah. This does feel like the science version of the Spore Drive.
Yeah.
And it was just fixed. It was just invented by having new dilithium. But for some reason, just new dilithium is better than spores grown from fungus. Because one dilithium we understand, it's just more powerful dilithium.
Yeah.
It's like in Stargate Atlantis, they have a ZPM, 0-point module. It's just a power source. How does it work? They explain it briefly. It's just a big battery. That's the summary of the technology. You find a big battery, you can power new tech. There you go. That's the summary of how that thing works.
Oh, yeah. And this is the moment. This is the moment where we. Yeah, I'm just at the last 2 lines of my first page. This is the moment where we find out that he's basically his chemistry is changing. He's mutating. He's becoming an X-Man, and
his mutant powers are gills.
Being allergic to water.
Yeah.
And not being able to breathe oxygen.
Yeah.
Which is interesting because the human body is like, what, 90% water or some silly...
Yeah, he should already have died, shouldn't he? Well, he does die really soon, but he should probably have died.
You'd think,
yeah.
Yeah.
That's funny. Although, I want to talk briefly then about the reveal, about that he's basically evolving. So the logic then being that he's evolving to be allergic to water on a planet that's 80% water with a body that's 60% water. He's evolving to be allergic to what his entire surrounding is made of. And that's natural evolution. So you say it's natural?
Yes. I was gonna address that later because I thought that was completely stupid.
We'll get there when we get there. But just that simple water, like out of all the things it could have been, I was expecting salt or the Leola root, but the water.
Matt Lathram just said we were bags of mostly water. No, we are ugly bags of mostly water.
Have you played those games?
What?
Have you played those games?
What games? That's from a TNG episode.
Oh, it's from the Royal Republic, the Star Wars video game.
Oh, it's from the TNG episode with the layer of creatures under the sand that they were killing. That's season 1.
Oh yeah.
Ugly bags of mostly water.
I guess I know where Star Wars got it from then. Oops. And also, I'll show the clip here, but in the mess hall scene, and I'll do it sort of half time. So he starts to have this little, like fit thing, and then he falls over. And if you look at the table, it's the most wobbly table you've ever seen ever. If you go watch the live now, Stuart, it's like what? I mean, it's obviously not like stuck to the floor, but like this is a starship. I mean, that thing's gonna rumble. That thing's gonna rumble just going to warp. I mean, come on. I know it's impact, but it's like, come on.
I noticed it tip over and stuff, but I never really considered that. You're absolutely right. And that's happened before in different series, different episodes. Somebody gets knocked over a table, the table goes.
This is why. And I also thought, why are they using tricorders to do personal notes? Like, just bring your laptop device thing. Like, a tricorder is not necessarily for this purpose. I just thought it's shiny props is all.
The tricorder would have, and they light up. The tricorder would have the readings, scientific readings, and they had pads as well, so they would be taking notes on the pads.
I know, but you wouldn't need both, or just I don't know, just funny. So yeah, we get some Tom Paris amazing or some Robert Duncan McNeil acting, which is fine. And then
And this, yeah, I thought his acting was perfect. It was perfect in this episode.
is that sarcastic or real?
You decide. I do love the sickbay force field and to be
Yep.
able to take all the air out of it and pump
Yep.
in whatever gas. I think that's really cool, and the way the doctor walks in and out of it. We
Oh
do see
yeah.
that quite a few times, but I really like that idea, this design of sickbay. So just wanted to point that out.
Well,
I think
and
this is one of the first times we maybe saw it on Voyager. I don't know.
probably. What's so nice, unlike Discovery and other shows, but I mean, everyone is smart in this episode. They might not be geniuses, but everyone does the best they can. The Doctor instantly has a feeling about this, moves to his console, and does the solution. Right, next problem, at least we've stopped him from dying of asphyxiation. You know? He's on it. Doesn't take him many seconds, many minutes. He is a true professional with hologrammatical thing. You know, everyone's competent in this episode. Everyone's smart. You don't always get that in Star Trek or Discovery as well. You think, well, that was so stupid. There aren't any plot holes in this beyond the utter stupidity of the conceit of the main plot. But like, that's just one big. It doesn't quite work. But you know, at least they try and explain it. You know what I mean? They're not holes so much as that just doesn't work.
And this is where we get a ton, a dump truck full of medical babble,
Yes.
which lines up with the Technobabble we got earlier.
Yeah. It was a bit excessive, wasn't it?
No, and we do learn a lot about Paris's childhood here.
Yeah.
Where right before he does die here in this scene, but right before that we do find out about his childhood and his father that told him he could be anything, and well, that was actually earlier, I think. But this is where he was talking about his room and how he loved his room because it was quiet, it was safe, and he lost his virginity in his room when he was 17.
Good for him.
Because his parents were away, and the doctor said, "I'll make a note of that in your medical log. That's important information."
It's a great line.
Yeah,
it's a weirdly non-Star Trek little back-to-back talking about his room at home virginity. Like, that's not topics that tend to come into Star Trek discussions, but it does humanize him. It's like he says on a pizza, pepperoni pizza. Again, pizzas tend to be normally like, you know what I mean? It's a very modernistic way of doing that scene, and it kind of ages better, I think, because of that. Yeah, but he's not quite himself, so the dialogue is a bit tinged with a bit of he's now going crazy.
Yes.
And again, the Doctor's excellent in this episode. He really is the standout. Just the very small lines, you know.
Yeah, and that's why I don't think that this represents like season 2 Doctor, where he's still kind of mistreated and his bedside manner is always awful. But he has more. He has more of a presence in this one. And if you had showed me this and not told me what season it was, I would have guessed maybe 4 or 5 based on that.
He still scowls though, like he still has that. Because
He
his
always
voice
does.
goes. He goes to chirpy cheepy later on. You know, he's still like, well, Doctor.
And you can tell because I think the first season or 2 of Voyager, his eyes are kind of cross-eyed. I don't know if you've noticed that. I didn't notice the first time I watched Voyager, but if you go back and rewatch the first couple seasons, his eyes are kind of cross-eyed the whole time, and then I guess he gets some surgery and gets it fixed in real life. But anyway, interesting, yeah.
And just a very small note. I mean, I kept wondering is Kes gonna be this episode, and she is. She has so little point, but I do love her outfit, and it's on the stream now. I think it's actually genuinely a good outfit. But again, you can imagine if the cast read the script, Robert Duncan's like, "Hey, it's my episode." Janeway's like, "I'm in a few scenes." Oh my god, the end! And the Doctor's like, "Yeah." Everyone else is like, "Oh, I'm just gonna turn up for half an hour then." You know, it's a really it's a weirdly focused episode because the Technobabble doesn't allow more character stuff. But again, it does feel sciencey. It does feel they're explaining things. They're being professionals. It's got that. It's a balance towards the literal science side, whereas it should be more dealing with other things. Although great makeup again for Paris. His transformations are really good as they progress.
Yeah.
And then he does.
Michael Westmore did an awesome job.
And he does indeed die. And what a nice moment with him and Kes. He almost tries to comfort her and then thinks better of it. But he's a hologrammatical AI.
Yeah.
And he's grown so much in 2 years already. To be able to yeah, it's an interesting moment.
After Paris dies, the next line I have is the Kess Paris relationship was always weird to me. It never
Yeah.
worked. It never felt right. I mean, I know Paris is a young hotshot and she's young, and I don't find her particularly attractive personally, but that's just me.
It.
Um, I don't
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. It's just. It was again unnecessary. They should have. If I mean, her and Tuvok was a good mix. They were an interesting pair. And then obviously her and Neelix. But so that was a weird thing to bring in anyway. Like it would have been fine if it was his wife, Nix's wife, and and a doctor. Like that, you make them both more solid, would be more interesting. Um, and then you get the bestly lit scene in the entire episode, the night scene. Although before we get there, yeah, before we get there, there's this shot of Voyager flying, and you'll see it in the stream, so I'll leave it on the screen. You see this shot like 5 times. It's poorly framed, and it's the same model shot. The VFX budget goes towards the shots it needs to, which are those 3 or 4 in warp shots. But the reason model shots is awful in this episode is the same exact shots that are not interesting, that are not well done, that are poorly framed. Some of them. I mean, I know that every second of VFX running time was difficult back then, but like if and when they do a Voyager remaster, let me know, CBS. I will happily do 55 generic flybys, so you can just throw them in the middle, because it's really crap in this episode when it comes to the visual side. You shouldn't ever reuse the same model shot twice in one episode. That doesn't make sense. You should use them every episode. That's fine, but had at least 10. Yet they use this one that you see on screen at least 5 times, 4 or 5 times in the show, and it's not even a good shot. It's poorly framed. But anyway, sorry. Nighttime, nicely lit. He's alive. He's alive.
And not only is he alive, but he's a Time Lord now. He's got 2
I
hearts.
felt that. Well, to be fair, he does regenerate at the end from lizard to human, magically. We'll get there in a bit. But he loses his hair. He's losing his hair. And again, good makeup. He acts it really well, I think. It's so not overstated. It's like subtly overstated. It's like I am just blown away by what's happened to me. Rather than like, help me, doctor, help me. I don't know. I just liked his acting in this bit.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Then you had the Kazon subplot, Stuart. Tell me what you think about that.
Oh my god, it was so necessary. I mean, I guess it does
It comes
tie in
back
other
5 or 6 episodes later. So
yeah.
Oh.
It does kind of tie in with other episodes and having those...
I mean, the Warp 10 bit of it.
Oh, yeah. It was... Yeah. Why?
Yeah.
Just, yeah. Unneeded. I actually forgotten about it. I didn't even write anything down about it, because I just... Like, it's not important.
But that's the point, isn't it? It's so tacked on that doesn't add anything and doesn't play a part. And I've even forgot why would this man, because he was Marquis, he was Marquis with Seska and stuff. Why would he pick the Kazon, who are clearly thugs over Voyager's crew, who are helping him, give him a job, running water, because they have a hard time finding water. The Kazon, water's very valuable when plants are made of water. And all them. It's just, why is he doing this? Did he love Seska or something? Was that a thing? Like, he just sort of...
Well, they had a grudge against Janeway for putting them in the position they're in.
So best to let the Kazon kill everyone and then be a Kazon.
I guess.
I love the
It shows the stupidity of the human nature of wanting revenge and holding a grudge.
So he wasn't smartest of the bunch. Thing is, I love the payoff episode. I love the one where they take over Voyager. I think those two are actually really good. And some of the stuff with them on Voyager, whatever his name is, the Maj Carl, I think it's actually a really good episode. I think that's quite a fun one. And seeing her back in the parallel universe Fractured episode is really good, her being the villain. So the Seska character is really good, but the way they play this is not good. And again, wasted 2 minutes. Maybe I should do like a fan edit and just take out all the stuff that shouldn't be in it. It'd be like 26 minutes, and I can do VFX. There you go. Make it a lot better. Make it all about the science.
You can have some good, cool transwarp shots and stuff as well.
Yeah. So you get the Doctor and Janeway talking, and she's so calm. She's so unblinkingly calm. It's really bizarre.
Yeah, that's true.
Don't get it. She's not allowed to get emotive. I don't get it.
Yeah. And then Paris's tongue falls out, and that's gross.
That's good though.
Doctor! Doctor! Let me out of here. Yeah.
God, you can see his tongue though. I mean, you can see him. It's touching the top of his mouth. Like you can just see his tongue in his mouth where he's doing the. It doesn't quite work. But look at the makeup. I mean, the makeup for this part is so good. It's so visceral, and I do remember thinking it was really gruesome, like when I was younger. And the tongue bit is a really nicely done piece of, like that's a you don't need that moment. You know, it's such an unnecessary thing, but it's genuinely gruesome. And this bit, you know, he's got skin flaking off. It's not nice. It's really well done, Michael Westmore. And it's different. Like it's different to the phage. It's different to all those things. It's another different thing.
Yeah.
Any more super chats, Stuart? We've been going for an hour and a bit.
No, we haven't.
Guys, 150
guys,
people.
if you can, that'd be awesome.
Because you know that's how we support the channel these days is super chats, and you know if you've enjoyed the last hour and something, then please do donate a little bit. Have a question, have a whatever. We'll stop and talk to you. Please do, guys. It's a good turnout today. So super chat, guys.
Absolutely.
Please.
Just don't forget it's there. That's all we're saying.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Tongue happens, and
then
he tries to beg with them to. Look, it's another really boring VFX model shot. Boo.
Well, he doesn't attack. He doesn't beg with them yet. First, we get the scene with the doctor explaining how he's going to fix them by giving them anti-proton burst from the warp core to kill all the new DNA, and then the old DNA will start reconstituting itself and correcting the problem, as it were. Then the next scene is where he attempts to attack Janeway.
No, I said he bargained with them. I mean, I'm watching it. He's on the floor. He's bargaining with them to let him off the ship. That's beforehand. I'm scrolling through it, but that's fine.
Oh, fine.
So, what did you think of this plan to bring him back to normality?
It's incredibly stupid because he needs the DNA to live. So you're going to kill all the DNA and hope that the other DNA fixes the situation and alters him back to a human. It just doesn't make much sense.
Yeah, I don't. It doesn't make any. Doesn't. I mean, there's a problem in Trek when it comes to having lots of radical changes. That you know, I remember that scene in Enterprise when Archer grows ridges and they go back in his head.
Yeah.
So tell me, his skin grew instantly, new bones and muscle tissue, and then it sunk back into his skull and then reformed his base tissue. Like it doesn't.
Right.
You can't do that sort of transformation, and so. The idea of them saying, so he's now turned to, and then his old DNA will allow his body to re-heal himself a new face, new skin, new hair, new tongue. You think his body's going to re-heal a new tongue? Like, he's lost his tongue, guys. Humans
Sure,
can't
why
heal
not?
like that. Like, the plan is ridiculous. It does not work. It's a stupid plan. Like, the obvious thing is use a transporter. That's how they always do those things. You use their old pattern, use that, and you resequence it, and then you that's the obvious one. Why are they bothering with anti-protons? Anti-protons, yeah, guys, that has not worked for me. He's so smart about it. It's like, and if you think about the reveal, this is evolution. He can undo natural evolution by shooting protons at it.
But they don't know that yet. The evolution thing hasn't come out yet.
But he's still worked out a solution that does end up working. So it doesn't matter if he knows it's evolution or not. His solution still stops and kills evolved human DNA, allows non-evolved human DNA to win against evolved human DNA. It's a real stupid plan.
Dreamer out there sent $10.
Thank
you. Does the salamander sex at the end make you guys feel as weird as it does me? Well, we'll get to that at the end.
It's not great.
But it leaves me feeling like I need a shower, and I don't feel complete. And I feel like it just ended oddly, but we'll get to that.
You feel like this guy on the screen now, Tom Paris, looking amazing.
Baz T sent £2.
Hey, thank you.
I decided to stay. What episode will you do next? We're not sure yet. We'll have to see.
There might be an ability for people to get at the end. And again, this little conference scene, Chakotay has nothing to do. It's really sad. Just another boring
and
shot.
Richard Bastoli in the chat says, antiprotons are antimatter. LOL, they would make Tom's atoms explode.
Yeah.
Well, technobabble-y, medical babble-y.
It's just a really simple solution for a really
Yeah.
intricate problem. You know? So then you got a scene with him in engineering. I love this makeup. I really like the salamander human form makeup. I think it's a really good job, actually.
Yeah, but it looks similar to the Malon.
Yeah, yeah,
Garbage.
kinda.
The nose and stuff is very similar to that.
Well,
So,
no nose. She hasn't got a nose.
well, exactly.
Something more lizardy. Yeah, it's more. Yeah, it's
Um,
weird on that. Let's see. Where am I at?
so
What does I?
yeah, he's
Oh, I don't buy the treatment. I thought I don't buy the treadmill. Is that what? Sorry. Yeah. So then, anti-proton's not quite working. He breaks free. What do you think?
there's a phaser fight in like who is firing phasers and why are they missing? These are trained professionals. Why are they firing back at the entrance or the main door to engineering? And like seriously, what is going on? He broke free. Did he grab if he grabbed a phaser, I can buy it because he's shooting at the people that are coming towards him.
And the consoles.
I'll buy that.
Well, he shoots one of the emitter things, but didn't they in First Contact make a huge point of don't shoot weapons in the engineering room because you'll hit the tanks, and he does shoot one of the tanks, different tanks, but yeah, I do kind of like you see it all via a monitor. It's like horror filmy, very abstract. You know, we feel helpless. It would have been weird to see him in full makeup hit people with Kirk Fu, grab a phaser, shoot people ninja style. Like it wouldn't look good. So I kind of like the abstract.
He's part amphibian, so maybe he'd jump around like Yoda did. And
I think you know exactly what would have happened. And this also reminded me that the doc can't leave sickbay, and they talk to him on monitors throughout the entire piece, which is really like they must have known that going in. We're gonna have to talk to him on the screen all the time to have a conversation off the one set he gets to be in. You wouldn't do that sort of thing now. I think it seems a bit strange. So yeah, he shoots a thing. The whole ship is flickering for some reason. Use emergency power to reroute and keep lights on, but okay. And Janeway puts the phaser away to talk on the phone for some reason.
I gotta point out here too that they had to take the warp core offline to be able to create this interface. So the warp core is offline. He breaks free. He breaks free, and she said it would take 3 hours to make the interface. The doctor said we only have an hour, so they did this in an hour. And anyway, he breaks free. Then the power starts to flicker, which means there's probably still a problem with the warp core.
Well, he doesn't shoot the warp core. He shoots a conduit. That's.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
But if the warp core was offline for this particular instance, it makes what happened next not possible.
You mean
it's basically he's.
Yeah. Okay, go.
He knocks out Janeway and takes her in a shuttle, and as soon as they leave, Voyager heads right after them under warp power. This usually in these episodes, this is where we're like, we don't have warp. It'll be an hour before we can have it back online, and they're like, ah. But of course, because they can hit warp 10, we've got to get going right away. So conveniently, the warp core is now back connected and online,
and a full potential as well. It
yes, because they get up to the top speed. Yeah, it's not even like we're limited to warp 6. No.
Full power available 16 minutes after you try. Yeah, it is. I didn't pick up on that. It's actually a good call. And they didn't even need to turn the warp core off. Like that didn't factor into the plot actually specifically.
No, she just wanted to make it sound more complicated than it was going to be. I need to disconnect that warp core. It's going to be 3 hours. Really? Is it really going to be 3 hours?
Although if you actually watch the scene, the warp core never actually it never actually turns off. So I'm assuming
it slows down. So
I'm assuming it just like the power parts of it that go to the warp, like it just sort of standby modes, because they generate the antiprotons through the warp core itself, so you couldn't just turn it off, and they do make a point not to show it turned off. So I guess it active standby to full, but that certainly is interesting. And just to jump back 1 second, he bumps into Janeway, and she hits her shoulders. Hits her arm, and then her head slightly, and then gets knocked out. What knocks her out?
Convenience. But she's got that huge bun of hair at the back of her head too. With the way her head hit the floor, that would cushion her head pretty good because that's before she cut her hair. She still had that lot of hair that she put up all the time.
And I mean, so double down on this then. So he has escaped engineering. He knows he's going to go to Shuttle Bay and escape. Fine, great, whatever. He finds Janeway not on purpose. He just happens to be wandering the corridor. Did he target Janeway? Or is it literally the first woman he finds and his initial mating instinct comes into play?
I think it was just convenience that she was in between him and the Shuttle Bay, and then that's kind of what I gathered from it.
Because they said security teams are checking every deck, which means I'm assuming that means every personnel are in their quarters or on duty and not just around the corridor. She just happens to be very unlucky going from wherever she was to wherever she's going. Yeah, weird that. I mean, weird he's taking her.
J-Dog is like, where the heck is Tuvok? Tuvok has security teams searching because the sensors are down, don't you know? Because the warp core is offline, but not really.
Well, he shoots a thing. He shoots a thing that causes power fluctuations, which turn the sensors down. Okay,
fine. The internal sensors are down, so the security teams are searching deck by deck. That's where Tuvok is. He's doing something.
Although they did detect the phaser fire, but couldn't detect where, why. Well, they did detect where, so the sensors are down, but good enough to detect the most important part.
Yeah. I forget the line, but they couldn't be accurate enough to know for sure who's there or whatever.
I mean, surely you'd say, phaser fire at turbolift 16. Sir, turbolift 16 is moving to the shell bay. Stop turbolift 16. Yes, sir.
I mean, love the way you delivered that line. Stop turbolift 16.
Yes, sir. I mean, you don't even need internal sensors to know your turbolifts are moving. That's a different system. That's not sensors. That's just turbolift control. And come on, he's a guy. I mean, they did say they can't detect him for transport, so I guess that's why they can't detect him.
That's part of our evolutionary cycle, is to become non-transporter lockable. It's true.
So he gets the shuttle bay. He gets in the shuttle. He manages to put the shuttle into the secondary bay because there's two. Because they leave from shuttle bay 2. So I guess shuttle bay 1 is inside the hull. 2 is the one you leave from. Was it still in shuttle bay 2? I don't know. So he puts Janeway in the back bit, and then he looks ridiculous piloting. You'll see in the live stream, just this weirdly made up person. Janeway looks totally comfortable, and yet goes to warp, and they chase it really easily. I mean, this is a good CG shot for the time. This is a pretty good CG shot of it chasing at warp. This is what you hope you'd see in the episode. And my annoyance with this shot is that, okay, he's going faster, right? Great. They hit warp point 97, and the computer warns them, if you don't stop, we're all going to die. So your max speed is not something you can achieve without blowing up. Don't label maximum speed then!
To be fair, same with Enterprise. They're like the warp 5 engines, and they barely got them up to that sometimes.
I know, but
early on.
Just say warp 9.6 engine, because if you go warp 7, you're going to blow up in 10 seconds.
But they always do that, even car manufacturers, for the extreme top end. It's the one time it made it up to that once before it blew up. That's the top speed.
Ah, right. So it's the warp 9.75 at a pinch for 13.6 seconds.
Yeah, it's like a little kid mentality. You know, how old are you? I'm 5.5. Because you're not just 5, you want to be 6, so you're pushing it. I'm 5.5. When you get older, you don't do that. It's that kind of mentality. Anyway.
This is true. Yeah. I'm just saying, I thought that was a bit strange. Like, I would have preferred it if they'd said, classic Sulu, Kim's like, we're at warp 9.75, they're going to warp 8. It takes warp 9.8, and then it starts rumbling, and they say, so we can only survive a little bit of time. You don't need Magell. Give it to Harry. Don't give a Magell line. No offense to Magell, but like he could do more lines. And then he says, tear us apart. And they say, no, sir, we're actually going to tear apart literally now if we don't stop. Okay, stop. You could... Well, to be fair, at that speed, is the ship moving faster than the pylons, Stuart? Is that why they're breaking apart?
Right, yes. That's exactly why. They're creating a wave front and a pressure. And
subspace pressure, yeah.
Yeah.
You're in a bubble.
Hey, they're surfing space.
Well, no, they're staying still.
Analogy complete. No, they're surfing space. The warp nacelles, warp space. There's like a big surfboard. I forget that was on that was on one of the behind the scenes things where the one guy's talking about how the warp and nacelles work and why they're so far away from the hull because they're riding like surf waves, and I'm like, oh, jeez. Anyway, so yes, moving along.
Oh, it's true. Tens of, and I think let's take a little pause to talk about the chat for a minute because we're quite a way through. Tens of the same way the laptops are labelled with 4.7 gigahertz, even though they are thermally throttled within minutes. Looks at Apple's. I know that like hard drives to say they're going to give you a terabyte, but it's really only 970 with storage space. So that's sure. But you know, I just found it strange that they basically Magellan was saying you are going to blow up in about 20 seconds if you don't stop. It should be max speed. It means max speed. Don't you know?
Yeah. Discovery is the apple of Trek. Looks unique, but just doesn't work in the real world. Really? I have an iPhone, and I love it. So,
RNAV to Del Ray. Where are you two located? Stuart, where are you located? Because I've never been there.
London, Ontario, Canada. Yes, you have been. Don't lie.
And Stuart, where am I located? Because you've never been here, but you know where I am.
Bedfordshire, Bedford, just outside London in the UK.
Bedfordshire. Like the Shire. I'm tall, I'm not a hobbit.
What, his feet are probably hairy.
No, actually, I've really not hairy feet.
That's good to hear. Thanks.
Welcome. So guys, yeah, you should super chat to support if you've enjoyed this video. 150 people, that's pretty cool, guys. We do rely on super chats for these sorts of lives. Anything from $1, $2, $5, $10, whatever, even £1, whatever. All makes a difference, guys, because we are taking time out of our day to review cool things.
Hey.
And these things don't tend to make money after the fact, which is kind of strange considering the effort put in. So if you can super chat, we try to get, you know, at least $60 each.
Nigel Savage. Hey, I live in Bedford near what?
Wait, really?
Was Kingsbrook School.
Ah, that's a hell of a coincidence. Kingsbrook. I don't know if I know Kingsbrook. Let me Google that. Well, that's Milton Keynes,
well,
so it must be Bedfordshire, not sorry, Bedford. Well, I guess whatever. That's cool. I live near
we're almost
the park, the main park. Do you live near the park, Nigel? Or lived in Bedford? Do you live near that?
He said it changed name.
That's not useful.
Don't know what it currently is called.
Well, it's near Milton Keynes according to this. But yeah. So what street do you live in the in Bedford then?
Hey, don't ask. He can't tell us on a live stream. Then people go stalking.
No, where he lived. He used past tense.
Oh.
Hence the street. So you've got to be in England, watch this live stream, know where Bedford is, put the effort in to go see a street with like 50
Or just
houses.
use Google and fly over there if you're rich and crazy. You know.
And this is a great picture of stuck us on with Jimmy.
She's like, the script's told me to do what now at the end of this?
Yeah. We've got to this act. Oh no. Can you imagine the French actress that originally had the part, what she would say if she read, "My God, at the end I must have sex with the fish." Oh la.
Captain Foley. Neff says Captain Foley would make an awesome hobbit with the right costume and large hairy feet prosthetics. Halloween maybe. Really? Is that I find that insulting.
Your crew is...
First of all, I hate Lord of the Rings and I'm not a fan of the Hobbits, so no. Neff.
What a day. So yeah, then we see Warp 10, which is I liked it was very similar to when TNG did go to Warp 10. The streams became like colourful and rainbowy. I kind of like that.
Don't cross the streams.
Yeah. Ooh,
or is that something different?
Ooh, actually, look at the stream for a second. Look at the monitor next to Paris. Look at how it's meant to say where your course is, but the thing is just saying everywhere, everywhere, everywhere. That's a really nice detail, actually.
Nice touch, yeah.
Do you see it?
Yep, I do.
That's actually really cool.
Because I've got my L cars up here, and I've got the actual on course thing and how it's supposed to look.
That's a really nice little detail. Huh.
How do you pick where you're going, though? Because you're already there. But you're also already over there. I'm confused.
Yeah, he never
Explain.
went to warp 10 and yet managed to get back literally within meters of where he started. I'm assuming at that point you become like Q God. You just basically say, made it.
Stop saying positive things about this episode. Well, we're not really. And as we say with all of our Trek, even Discovery, we point out the good and the bad that we see. So, Michael Ellis, a nice touch on that CRT monitor. Damn, Skippy.
Well, I mean, it's worth mentioning, guys. Obviously, some people called us out for just being anti-Discovery and such, but we review them all fairly. Pretty sure we're reviewing this one fairly. Also, it was a bad example of a Trek episode, but we're reviewing it like we did Discovery, breaking down like we did Discovery, calling out the problems like we did Discovery. I mean, this is just how we would review anything. It's our system. Sorry, Discovery. Sorry, this episode. So they warp Tenify, and Janeway looks on with amazement as she regenerates. That's kind of the effect from the 80s, and then they're at warp.
And then 3 days later.
Oh, sorry. Well, Tuvok gets his scene. That's important.
What scene? What is
He's just in a scene, and he says a few things. Literally, he has no parts. I really like Tim Russ as an actor. I really like him as Tuvok. He really captured the Vulcan.
Yeah, I love him as Tuvok. I don't like him as Tim Russ, though. I'm sorry, and people and the actors take vacations. That's why they're like they take time off during filming a little bit. So they got small roles in certain episodes. You can tell when they're taking time off because it focuses on the other characters.
Or they're doing episodes that they are important in, because they obviously rebalance. If you're only in 3 lines of this scene, I mean, there's a reason why they have first unit, second unit. You can film multiple episodes at the same time, which you do tend to. That's why a lot of the actors you ask, what's your favourite episode? And honestly, they film them out of sequence, like scenes out of sequence, because they don't film chronologically in an episode, and they will very, very likely skip. For example, if they know like episode 6 is very CG heavy, they might film episode 6 as episode 3, because then that gives them more time to produce the effects. If they have things like a creature with them, if that takes 6 more weeks to do the CG for, they have to give it the time, whereas one might be a bottle show. So they know where they've gone. They can detect the ship de-warped end, de-transwarped end. Yes. And it's so close that Paris must not have actually wanted to escape. Because if he's he never does anything stupid in the sense he's in control of what he does. So I'm assuming it's the subtlety saying, well, he did want to be saved, he just wanted to have babies first.
Wouldn't you? Find the nearest planet that is suited to...
Honestly, I
don't think... But it doesn't have to be the nearest one, because you can be everywhere at the same... Oh my god.
Honestly, I don't think I can relate to him at this point. I think he's out of my relation ability. But it's weird that he's here. He should have been on Earth or anywhere literally in the universe.
Yeah, Earth would have made a lot more sense. Cause...
Callback. He went back to his old room. Cut to his home room. He's just
as a child, yeah.
Well, not necessarily, but yeah, whatever. But that would be a really bad scene to see him alien hump in his old child bedroom.
Yeah, there's a lot of issues with this
That'd
episode
be a
for sure.
Payoff.
What? And this is where we hear about the natural human evolutionary process, millions of years of evolution in the space of 24 hours for Tom Paris. The doctor says, and it doesn't look too good, I forget what it says exactly, but I was thinking the same thing. I don't want to live anymore if that's the case, if that's what we're going to evolve into.
I think in most sci-fis, they're gone at this point.
Well, yeah, we'd be...
That's it. They're not coming back from this.
We'd be, yeah. So we turn into lizards. Good to know is what I wrote, because we came from same kind of thing, like salamander out of the ocean. If you want to follow the evolutionary chain, so we go back to that. That doesn't make much sense, guys. Sorry.
Well, let's break that down. Okay, so they beam to this planet, easy peasy. It's literally easy peasy, and they're revealed as salamanders, space salamanders, and the direct implication is this is what we're going to evolve into in millions of years. Now, evolution is where you deal with the environment and you improve yourself for the environment to get stronger and better. In what way are these salamanders an improvement over our current life form status? I don't understand.
Exactly.
because we've seen the Q as a potential evolution. We've seen
Mhm.
Kess evolve and get better
And there's a
stronger.
TNG episode where the one guy was hunted down by his people, or people like him, and then he evolved into a luminous being on the bridge as the next step
Yep.
of their evolution.
Yep. Yep.
Yep.
Organians, they're evolving of their
Yep.
race.
The Metrons
Yep.
from Arena.
Yep.
There's so many instances of yes.
Why would this possibly be a next evolution? Well, I mean, millions of years, but it's like there's no logical. Like, I would be better with it if they were like humanoid looking, because then at least they're not losing their opposable thumbs.
Yeah.
And if they were like, because obviously, I mean, this is minute 41 of the episode. They have literally no minute. You know, they've
2 minutes left.
they've 5 minutes plus credits. Yeah, so there's only. Yeah, they have 1 minute 50 left to finish the story, and to finish the story is we're going to shoot them and save them. That's the conclusion of the storyline.
And let the babies go, because that's fine. They can. So there's evolved humans on a planet in the Delta Quadrant that are going to mate with each other and hopefully not have 3-headed children because they're all related.
Well, no, they're too evolved to be apart from that, you know. Yeah.
I'm sure, and that's going to come into play sometime in the future, maybe.
And Renee says there can be evolutionary dead ends.
Yeah. Well, this seems more like a de-evolution than an evolution to me.
And then adaptation to the environment is evolution. Well, exactly. Now, there's one rationale I can buy with this specific version of events. And they didn't explain it, but it would have worked, I think. So the idea of the Warp 10 is being everywhere, right? And they evolved because of that. Now, logically, theoretically, it's an evolution in response to that. So my guesstimation to make it make sense would be these creatures are able to actively mentally process everything. Their bodies had to evolve to increase, and they say like, through it the brain's getting bigger. That this evolution of humans is adapting to the Warp 10 environment, which is existing in everywhere. So they can consciously process everything. Unfortunately, that's a man-made thing, and obviously, if you're out of that scenario, these are useless nonsense creatures. But like they can process it in that one way. They are evolved, but it's to one very specific form of life, which obviously we're not going to live in. What do you think?
So they're because of Warp 10, they're everywhere that can be anytime, and there's more past history than there is future history. So therefore,
we don't know time, but it makes sense.
I know. Well, he did say at one point that the past was the future and the future was the past.
That is very true. No, that's
Mumbly jumbly Joe. So it just seems like there's more past history than future history. So in order to evolve to the Warp 10 environment, you have to de-evolve because I don't know. I'm just spitballing.
But do you like
here.
my idea a little bit? Like they've now are evolving to deal with Warp 10 as opposed to anything else. Which makes them poorly suited for any other life. And as you can see, those antennae are Warp 10 antennae. They help you smell food in Warp 10.
There are just no evil pencil-thin mustaches that they can twirl. No. Should they have fingers?
I know some people have complained at our Discovery and other reviews saying, why are we reaching for answers? Well, because it has to make sense.
Yes.
It happened, so it has to make sense. You've got to make it make sense somehow.
I wonder if more this feels like one of these modern movies that was half filmed and then they decided to change direction with it, brought in somebody else, tried to make stuff fit, didn't work. So how much of this ended up like on the cutting room floor and just didn't work as an episode? And like you said, should have been 2 episodes maybe to actually kind of be good. This is what it feels like to me. I don't know.
No, absolutely. It's such a strong premise, but to leave the conclusion to the last 3 minutes, especially when that conclusion is completely regenerating and rejuvenating your body from lizard man or lizard creature to not.
J-Dog just said, if they turned into tardigrades, then, see, that would have been sick. Now when they remaster Voyager, they're going to do that.
That's actually really fun.
Tardigrades.
I like that. Yeah. I mean, they'll make a better digital set than they did this real fake set. So that's what I was going to say about these guys. I don't know, but it's just beams in, stuns them, they're not. I guess they haven't evolved to deal with phaser fire. It's like really sad to like a bloop, gone. And then they beam them back and they made babies, and babies are now, yeah.
But Janeway's going to give him a commendation for being his first transwarp flight. And I love how the whole moral of the story, as Tom sums it up, it's basically a self-realization to worry about your own self and not how other people perceive you. That's the whole heart of the story. And now you know, because knowing is half the battle. Kind of mess. Yeah.
This scene is awful.
Yep. But everyone's back to normal, and next week we'll never talk about it again because it never happened.
But our shuttles can now go up 9.6 without any ill repercussions, so that's good.
No, they can't, because later, I'm sure, we're going to see instances of them not being able to do this. Because it's only season 2.
Yeah, this scene is so poorly everythinged. Because Janeway is so calm, so pleasant, so polite, so nice. I know she's a professional that's been in the service for a long time, but I doubt she's been subjected to a complete body metamorphosis. And we saw Tom's journey, it corrupts your brain too. Be able to understand the universe, which he remembered, then become an alien who's conscious and evolved, whatever that means, have babies, which took 3 days, then not be a baby, not have babies, like recover from that, and then regrow your entire body from scratch, and magically her hair's the same length, makeup's the same, and she's so damn calm.
Yeah, just another day at the office, man. Don't you know these things?
I mean, I wouldn't be offended that we slept together as alien creatures, because that's totally not under your control. But I'd be concerned that we became alien creatures. You know, that would be something I would be slightly more concerned about. And then Tom, he's like, "Oh, Captain, what an adventure." What?
Well, he did say earlier on that, yes, he remembered being everywhere at once, but it was quickly fading. His memory was quickly fading.
And he doesn't remember anything after a certain point of being in it.
Yeah.
So if you don't remember it, if you don't remember it, how can you be scared about it? That's a good point. Yeah. But
no, the end of this episode made me feel not right. It ended too quickly. It was just such an odd, and to leave the babies there, it almost seems irresponsible. You almost want to bring them with you so you can study them and see what's. Although then they have kids on the ship that are their kids, and it's just weird. And then we have to deal with that next week, so we can't do that because it's Voyager.
I mean, who takes them for the weekdays, for the weekends? Which quarters? I mean, who has custody? They both have custody.
Exactly. And don't spill salt on them because they'll shrivel up and die. But this is where Voyager falls flat for me in a lot of respects. I love Voyager. I love all the series of Star Trek. This one, though, we find in Voyager that people have life-altering things happen to them, like things they've been dealing with for a long time, that are never mentioned again. Like when Neelix died, for instance, and found out there was no afterlife, and how affected he was during that episode, and even at the end, he was still devastated by this knowledge. Next week, he's fine. That's one thing that bothers me about Voyager's writing, is the fact that there's no carry-through.
And just the simplest one, Janeway is engaged to the love of her life.
Yeah.
Never reacts to the loss.
Well, it's mentioned a few times. That one they kind of played out a little bit.
It's so minimum, it's ridiculous. Like, that should have been one of the big season 1 arcs of her dealing with that loss. And obviously the Marquis, never dealing with them, really. Except obviously the holographic episode was superb, but, underdone. Yeah. But yeah, this scene, I did not remember this scene. And Tom, what the hell is he thinking in his brain to pull a moral message like that out of what just happened? You should apologise to her first.
He did apologise.
Okay, good. Then good job.
He did apologise, and he's like, "I don't know what to say. I'm sorry."
The tone of
she's like, and then that's where she says, "Well, how do you know it was you that initiated it?
Why are you cheeky flirty crew? You know him 2 years. He was a convict. Didn't like him at the start. Why? No, we did like him at the start, but no. This scene has the wrong tone completely. It's so
Yes.
tone deaf. It should have been them both in their crew quarters in the dark. Like one wakes up, having a flash of nightmare or something, goes to the mess hall. It's pitch black because the light. I mean, the amphibians, they can't do the light anymore. Janeway's there having a cup of not water, not coffee, and then he sits down and they both share a drink, but don't look at each other properly and say, "Sorry about what happened. It's not your fault. You know, we'll move on. This is what space exploration's about. Are we gonna? I mean, we'll never go to Warp 10 again." And he's like, "Good." Like that would have been a good ending. Darker, moodier. I just don't buy at all that they could regenerate their entire bodies, because their bodies have been shrunk to 4-foot amphibians with completely different internal. You can't regrow every single organ, every single bone, every single structure. It's a new body. It's a different body. You can't do that. It doesn't work. You can beam them into themselves, maybe, using all patterns, but the radical transformation does not work for this. At least it should have been bald. Be bald and then be not tanned, and then the doctor says, "Don't worry, we'll get you everything back again.
Yes.
Don't worry."
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, just the fact that she's got her hair perfect again. It just does. It's so far from a satisfying ending. It's the exact opposite.
But don't you know they have to stay in sickbay for 3 days for observation?
Oh yeah.
And she's just total. She's like, all right, cool.
Yeah, that was an ordeal.
Yeah.
So that was the worst part of the episode. That scene, I think, which is weird, actually. Just the tone deaf nature of the scene.
Like I said, the episode started good, and then it kind of got backed up, and then ended really quick in this really stupid.
Yep. Within 5 minutes.
But the first 10, 15 minutes are good structure for a good Star Trek story.
It's got a good build.
And then it's like, what happened?
They lose interest?
Or, like I said, they changed directors halfway through or had to make a lot of changes or something, because it does feel like one of these modern movies that is just mishandled.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And it's strange because the next episode is called Meld, and that's where a murderer on the ship, and it's Sing the guy, and then
Suitor,
yeah, and Kess is in it and Tuvok's in it, and that's a really good episode actually. That's a really dark, interesting episode. You can see where Tuvok was the entire time, and Kess and stuff. But that's there's 2 polar opposite episodes. It's still a bottle show, still just characters, but really solid and really strong. It's really odd actually the difference. And as people mentioned in the episode, these effects are completely reversible with no ill effects. So you can go to Warp 10. You have about 3 hours till you change. Given the treatment would be easier at the start, and you're home. There's no downside to this beyond the slight risk of it being permanent, but you've got enough time of being sane, and the Doctor won't be affected, so the Doctor's fine. Although, to be fair, the bioneural gel packs might be the reason.
Evolve?
Yeah. That would have been a strong, the first bit of the next episode said, we want to go transwarp, but we can't because our binaural gel packs will go. Then you just take the shuttles, wouldn't you? Just ferry people back and forth, because it'd literally take 20 minutes to do the entire crew.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a spore drive get home MacGuffin, which they don't even reference again. But they do go transwarp in 2 years' time, and then lots of times after that.
But there's corridors and stuff set up to prevent this kind of thing, maybe, perhaps.
But that speed's not infinite, so it's not transwarp. It's just post-warp. I'm going to put the notes away now. So yeah, that was our review of Threshold, the best episode of Voyager ever. With and again, this final scene is the most boring close-ups. It's so flat.
And this is because CBS has paid us to do this, and we absolutely love this show. It's fantastic until we hate it, because that'll be the next thing. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, hopefully this has proved to you that we take each episode as it comes.
We got to rate this. We got to rate it on a scale of 1 to 10.
Do we?
I am going to give this... Yes, we do. I'm going to give this a 4, because I did enjoy the beginning. However, it fell apart very quickly. Like I said, after about 15 minutes.
This is a weird one, because most of it is thoroughly average at best. At best, there's nothing special about it, but the concept's so good is the fact that it ruins itself so thoroughly enough to demote the rest of it. Like, it's such a 5 or less in terms of the episode, But as a whole, it's 4 or a 3. Like it's like
Yeah.
most Voyager episodes are better than this easily.
Yes, absolutely.
And this is probably one of the worst. I think. Oh dear, yeah, I think 3 from me, just because it's poorly shot in terms of there's no originality, there's no creativity. It's a
And don't forget the Kazon are in it.
And they couldn't even get Marge, Carla, or Seska. They couldn't even get any of the interesting ones for the 1 second cameo. This is a cheap episode. They didn't put any money into. Yet it was one of the most important plots they could have had for the episode, the season. Like the next episode is about one murderer dude, also important, and it's just a phenomenal episode.
Yeah.
So bizarre the priorities. Well, 90 Lancaster, one of my favourites, 7 out of 10. Mike Pearl's 4 out of 10. Yank's Pride 3.
Earth 2, 5.79, 5.799. Oh, it's like a warp scale. That's how we should rate our episodes from now on. This is a 5.9978.
On the Trekyards review warp scale, yeah.
And if you get to 10, then it's every episode ever is awesome. I don't know.
Yes. That's exactly what it. Yeah. So there you go, guys.
Brett Barrow is here. He's
Hello.
one of our awesome friends. $2 on the rating scale. That's a 1. What's a 1 and what's a 10?
This is true though. Considering this is the worst one of Voyager. Now I'm assuming I'm rating to all of Trek, not necessarily all of. It's Trek, not just. So let me think about. Okay.
I don't know. I hate when people ask me what's my favorite ship or what's my favorite episode because there's so many good ones. It's hard to say. So for that rating scale, like what's my 0, what's my 10? That's rough. I don't know. I don't know what to pick. I hate that on the fly stuff. I need to think about it and go through the list.
I mean, I think a decent one is that it's Shades of Grey, the TNG clip show.
Well, yeah.
I mean,
any clip show is kind of that.
Yeah, there's nothing there, so it's not worth it. Spock's brain's awful, but at least it's TOS, and there's some. I'm sure there's some. I haven't seen it in ages. There's probably a few nice moments.
It's got a few good moments. Yeah.
It's probably like a solid 2. I mean, Code of Honor, obviously, but it's got some interesting stuff. It's just an awful episode. That's probably
Brain. What is Brain?
That's probably a 2 as well. I just looked up a list, 15 worst episodes, and the worst one on this list is These Are the Voyagers from Enterprise.
I'll disagree with that.
I mean, that's probably a 3 as well. To be fair, probably as bad as this episode. The story's just awful in itself. It's again missed opportunity. Yeah, this is as bad as the end of Enterprise.
You know how Archer had a beagle? Well, I got a pug. Captain Foley has a pug aboard his ship, and it's so stupid, but I love it so much. Anyway, goodbye, pug.
Precious. Whereas, like, my 10 out of 10s are, like, all good things, because that's just pretty much perfect.
Pale Moonlight.
Pale Moonlight, yep. Well, I guess one from each show. Obviously, Enterprise Incident, Bounce of Terror, for the most part, 10 out of 10. Oh, someone said Intimate Darkly. Intimate Darkly is a weird one, because the part 1 is, like, a solid 9 out of 10, and then part 2 is both a 10.
I got a dreamer out there, $5. Off topic, how would you rate Enemy Darkly Part 1 and 2?
Yeah, that's what I was mentioning. What do you think?
I know. So, I enjoyed Part 2 a lot more than Part 1.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Well, there's more TOS in Part 2. Of course I like it.
But it doesn't scratch that TOS need as much as you think it's going to. Like, it wastes certain bits of time.
It does for me. I like just seeing the ship again and the interiors and the new interiors, the new parts of the Constitution class we haven't seen before. It's very cool. So I'd give. That's a good question. So part 1, I'd say is probably 8 for me. Part 2 would be like a 8.5.
Oh, really? Not even a 9? I mean, I think
8.57832116.
If you edited that episode down a little bit, it'd be a 9.5. Like, just cut out a few bits that don't quite work with the pacing. But I think part 1 is so good because it builds up so well. Like, you don't know where it's going. And then it's like, holy. And then that end scene is just superb on the bridge. It looks so good. It looks so visceral. It looks so real. It looks so You know, when the moment it turns on is like, that is so perfect. It's never been done that good before, and it hasn't been done good since because they refused to.
Mm-hmm.
Episode 2 is amazing bits, but a couple of weak moments for me. But some like just seeing them in uniform looks so good. I mean, just Archer on the bridge in his uniform, depth of field behind him, properly lit, looks just perfect. It's amazing.
I just looked at the live stream because I've been looking at that, and that's a great still that you're on. Just so you know.
Thanks, man.
I made the thumbnail deliberately hideous because that's how I felt after watching the episode. So
Yeah, what do I end? I don't want to do a thumbnail of them. I'll do it. I'll do them entering warp 10. There you go. That's a good thumbnail. But like, yeah, all good things are an obvious 10 out of 10. I like Message in a Bottle. It's probably like a 9.5. It's not perfect, but it's pretty damn close. Prometheus episode, like, it's a really good episode. There isn't much bad about it.
you like that one? Yeah. Of course you like that one. It's got the Prometheus in it.
But the thing is, I like the episode. Like, it's a double whammy. The episode is so strong, and the ship is so strong. Like, it wouldn't be as good without the episode. If it was just a ship, okay, fine. It's like Equinox is doubly good because the ship and the episodes are really good. So it kind of raises both together.
Yeah.
Yeah, how do you rate Equinox Part 1 and Part 2 then?
Those were pretty high.
Because they're probably better than Into Mirror Darkly in terms of like Star Trek episode. Yeah.
Yeah, I would say 8.5, maybe 9. See, I'm reluctant. I'm like a teacher. I don't want to give anything like an A plus or a 10 or a perfect. It has to be some flaw there.
Oh yeah.
And they all have them.
Yep. Which we just found out. The best episode in Voyager, we found at least a flaw or two.
Oh yeah, that's one. Right. Anyway.
The best one.
Yeah. See, stuff like Deep Space Nine, as Stu047 said, Way of the Warrior is good. Sacrifice of Angels is also another really excellent one that I'd put up there in the 9.5. Blood Oath is another great one as well.
Less Star Trek-y, but as a piece of entertainment,
Yeah. So, and that's why I like Deep Space Nine. There's a lot of great episodes. There's also a lot of shit though. So,
you know, it's funny. People always say "City on the Edge of Forever" as one of the best Star Trek episodes.
No, that's a good piece of writing overall, as I say, or any kind of sci-fi that could fit in any sci-fi franchise and be a perfect piece of storytelling. It's a standalone storytelling piece. It's not a good episode of Star Trek.
It's not a bad episode of Star Trek. It's not a bad episode of Star Trek. It's got good Kirk stuff. Like, it's got great Kirk and Spock. Them as a characters are still really strong.
I'll say it's one of the best pieces of Star Trek writing, but it's not one of the best Star Trek episodes as far as Star Trek being Star Trek. It can be anything, and you can take it out of context of Star Trek completely, and it still be an awesome movie or story and be amazing.
If you watched that, you wouldn't get a sense of the world, the universe, the time frame, like, you know. Whereas I'm just going through a different list. Living Witness, the one where the alternate Doctor is, you know, hundreds of years in the future, and, you know, Warship Voyager. That's also a really good piece of writing, I feel like. And it's obviously more Star Trek, but it's like more of we're putting a lens on characters and on truth and not truth. Like, that's got a good moral message as well. And the acting, I think, is really strong in that piece. And it's great use of sets and stuff.
It's one of my favorite Voyager episodes. I do like that. It's kind of like the closest we get to the mirror universe of Voyager crew.
And they had so much fun.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Jamie's a badass bitch.
So, Time Zero. Time Zero's not too bad.
Isn't that the one where Data goes back in time? That's not good. What?
I don't mind it. I like the time travel aspect and the 2-part. I thought it was good.
A lot of bloat in that one.
Oh, for sure. But I like the concept of it, and the fact that his head's like 500 years old, and
again, it's got some good moments, but it doesn't quite.
Yeah. And Whoopi Goldberg, Guinan, Mr. Data. It's hilarious when she realizes that it's a starship. Yeah.
Relics, I do quite enjoy Relics.
Relics is good. Yes, it's a just tie-in.
It's just a fun episode.
TOS.
If If you just want to chill out, that's a good episode just to watch, just for nice factor. Which is sad, 'cause I don't think Spock's episode is particularly good.
Unification?
Yeah.
No.
Like, what a waste of Spock. You know what I mean? It like, good idea, medium execution for me. Doesn't like, come on, this is, whereas Scott, I know Scotty's super in the bubble of his TOS, but he is a great character in that. He is that piece.
Yep.
His life is that piece. Spock is like, he's in that piece, he has a motivation for that piece, and he's good in the piece, but he's not, you know, doesn't
Ricky,
quite work for me.
Yeah, Ricky Radio, $2. What's next? Spock's Brain, Sub Rosa. Everybody keeps saying Sub Rosa. Which one is Sub Rosa? I can't remember. I'm pretty good with the titles, but that one's escaping me right now.
It's one I barely remember. After her TNG, after her grandmother dies, Beverly encounters a ghost lover.
Okay. Yep.
Who has I don't even.
I just watched that. I just watched that last week, and I caught the last half of it.
I have no memory of the episode beyond the few visuals. Like it doesn't. No.
Again, that's like a Harlequin novel just put in a Star Trek setting. So, yeah.
Year of Hell, superb.
Yeah.
Probably probably the best Voyager episodes. Probably the best Voyager story.
Yes,
because
it's what the whole series of Voyager should have been.
Yeah. Mirror Mirror, damn good. Yeah, again, Sitting on the Edge of Forever is the first one. It doesn't. Yeah.
No, I disagree with that 100%. It's a great piece of storytelling. Great story by Harlan Ellison, but
they also changed it so radically from a story that it's
the story is, as it was originally written, is very different and very interesting. Actually, it would have been a much better Star Trek episode as that way, but.
Someone saying Timeless as an episode from Voyager.
Timeless.
Where there's
what happens?
Where they go slipstream, then Voyager gets crashed on a planet, and then ice go back.
Yes. That is an excellent episode. I will agree with that.
I mean, that's the one episode Kim gets to be the best part of the show.
Yeah.
Like, he is a 10 out of 10 in that episode. Yep. You get to see the Galaxy class versus a flyer for some awesome reason, and you get Geordie, and no one ever references the fact that, you know, Captain LaForge was a cameo. Awesome, because he wrote the episode, so just put on a uniform and quickly stood in front of a set.
Or a green screen.
And interestingly, they didn't use green screen for that back then. What's funny about that model, I didn't realize this until recently, is that version of the Enterprise D model is the only version of the Galaxy class to have the name and registry on the bottom of the saucer. Because they wouldn't know what ship it was unless they did. So, you know, I've been asked before, do I want the one with that registry or not that registry? Because it just doesn't. It's not what's on the other ships.
Stu047 said TOS Space Seed, and I kind of disagree. It's good. It's good Star Trek, but if it wasn't for the Wrath of Khan, I don't think it'd be such a standout episode.
Why?
Because it's not super great when you go back and rewatch it. Because I always get so excited to watch Space Seed and then watch Wrath of Khan, and it's just like, because I know what happens in Wrath of Khan and how vengeful Khan becomes, it's really intriguing to watch Space Seed. But had that Wrath of Khan not existed, it'd be like, okay, it's just a regular episode of TOS, in my opinion.
Well, he's definitely a standout villain. Like, you can tell it from the episode. He has more charisma and impact than most of the one-off villains. Well, he's definitely in the top, 5% of episodes, though, from TOS.
Yeah, I would say so.
Yeah, okay.
But because of TNG, or not TNG, Wrath of Khan, it bumps it up on my favorites list for sure. Just as a nice tie-in. So.
Interesting.
Doomsday Machine, Balance of Terror, a lot of people have been saying those. Yes, they're up there for sure.
Not really anything bad to say about them, honestly. But Stuart, have we had any more super chats?
Not really. No,
guys.
Radio was the last one.
Guys, this is our slowest night ever, and we thought this would be a really popular one because, you know,
yeah,
it's a bad episode. We thought we'd be really excited, guys. Oh.
Yeah, well, yeah, I know, but we just won't do this again then. I guess that's the case.
Well,
We'll still do the Discovery ones on Sundays, and after this Discovery's over, we might do these on Sunday, but...
Well, see, that's the weird thing about what people don't understand about what we do. If you don't watch it, why would we make more of it? Because we're not making this content for us, we're making it for you. So if you don't watch it, we shouldn't make any more. That's why Top 10 stopped. You didn't watch it enough to justify the time versus money. So, I mean, it's that's why we do mission briefings a lot and Fleet Ops mission briefing, because it's what generates the income, which lets us do more. And again, if one show gets 10,000 views, then that's 10,000 people want to watch that show. If one show gets 4,000 views, less people have tuned in, and that's then it's less successful. I mean, that's just simple as. I mean,
Go work in McDonald's. What?
I think you'd all miss us if we did.
No, they wouldn't.
No, they wouldn't. Okay. So, but guys, see if we can get on the $30. That'd be nice. At least we can sort of average out this session. $30. Come on, guys. Just a little bit would be superlative, and then we can stop for the evening.
Another great TNG episode for sure. There's two that come to mind. First is A Measure of a Man, and second would be Drumhead. I really enjoyed Drumhead.
Which one's Drumhead again?
That's the one where the admiral or some lady was going on a witch hunt, basically, and everybody was involved in her mind. And Picard gave this long speech about how...
Isn't the same lady as well in both?
Isn't
that the thing?
No.
Okay.
No, it's a different lady in Measure Man, but... Yeah, those are some of the best ones for TNG, in my opinion. Ron Phillips just put $1 in.
Thank you.
No comment or anything, which is fine. But I would, but my card got declined. That sucks.
Sorry. But any last questions about this episode? It's been certainly a lot of fun, and like we said, guys, we review it fairly as it comes. And thanks to Anti-Tracker for donating for us to look at this amazing piece of cinema.
Yes, Anti-Tracker, thank you. And even though you weren't here...
Well, he'll watch and repeats and hear his name and see our scorn at him for missing his private show. Public to the world.
That's right. And we're talking to him tomorrow morning anyway.
So we'll see you guys next Sunday for episode 2 of Discovery. And
Yes.
We'll see us on Saturday for a new episode. We've got a new guest, which will be introduced, which is exciting.
And I'll probably be doing another live either tomorrow or Friday. I think I want to do one in the afternoon to just kind of do something fun, because,
Cool.
so you guys can tune into that as well. So, but I think we will call it a wrap right now. And thank you guys for tuning in, and everybody that super chatted, very much appreciated. We just got one from Richard Kennedy, £4.99. Was literally about to say the Drumhead and The Measure of Man are very good episodes. I think Similitude from Enterprise is very good also. Similitude is an amazing episode, yes.
Which one's that?
That's the one where they clone Trip.
Yeah.
And they have to end up... That's really impactful, that episode. I really enjoy that one. So yes, absolutely.
That shows you that, again, a good characterful piece, using your characters in a bottle show can work.
And Tuvix.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyone that brings up those moral questions, those moral dilemmas, it tends to be really, really well received, I think. So
because they can't just deal with them; they've got to think about them and relate to them, and which is why that similar one where they holographically recreate the Cardassian.
Yes.
Yeah, and it's a really interesting moral story. Genuinely, it's interesting. That's one of the very first Foundation Imaging visual effects shows they took over. So.
Oh, really? Good to know. Cool.
Yeah.
All right, guys. We'll call it quits. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this, and we will do more of these at some point, but we need to find a good time where we get good views and stuff and things like that. So just a little bit of settling into a groove.
Great viewership numbers, though. We hope you guys enjoyed them. We hope you guys watch this in post and enjoy our, we think, fair review. Hopefully you guys agree of this. I think it's fair to say standout episode of Voyager, just in all the wrong ways.
Yes.
Certainly memorable.
And just know that all Star Trek has its good and bad, and we're here to be fair and honest and point it all out. That's just what we do. Even Discovery, guys. Even if you hate Discovery,
I mean,
it's still Star Trek.
I think we both had fun ripping some bits to shreds.
Oh yeah,
it was really interesting. Like I never saw the warp thing. Like we both have different brain sets, so we can analyze in different ways. And it's like, oh, okay, this, and this, oh, this and this. It's good. You you kind of reappreciate episodes by breaking them down and thinking about them. You know?
Yeah.
It's like a whole different appreciation.
Yeah.
But yeah.
All right, guys. So have a good night, and we will talk to you all soon.
Bye.
Is there a threat or a promise? Whatever you want.
Bye guys.